Hey, y'all. This is Joy Hoke. I'm the Executive Director of Families as Allies, and I want to welcome everyone who's joining us for our fifth Wednesday Families as Allies Live. We do this every time there's a fifth Wednesday in a month, and we're just going to give you an update. Today, we're going to talk about some education issues that often happen around this time of year and just give you some support and strategies to deal with those. And I'm excited because our staff is here and they'll introduce themselves in a minute. And then we have two very special guests with us who are going to tell us about some added support that's there for schools to help make sure they're supporting families the best they can. So I will turn it over to our staff and let y'all introduce yourselves, and then we'll have our special guest stars introduce themselves. So Karina, you can start.
Yes, my name is Karina Price. I'm a family partner with Families as Allies.
And Henry.
I am Henry Moore, and I'm with Families as Allies.
Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Taylor. I'm the Office Manager for Families as Allies.
And now we will turn it over to our guest stars. Y'all can introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do and this great thing that just started, or I guess started a while back, called CHAMP for Schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everyone. My name is Gigi Holder. I'm the Program Director for the CHAMP program. That stands for Child Access to Mental Health and Psychiatry. And I'm here with one of my teammates, with Brooke.
Yes. Hi, I'm Brooke Guyton. I'm the lead clinician with CHAMP for Schools. We are a program funded by the Department of Mental Health, and we're hoping to provide consultations and education to both schools and community mental health providers in the state.
Okay, thank you all. And we are privileged that we get to work with you guys and look at some of these things that come up all the time and figure out how do we support families. And how do we support schools in a way where they can understand the rights of families and different things that are going on so that as many children as possible stay in their classrooms and are able to be successful at schools. So let's just talk for a minute. Those of you all who take calls at Families as Allies, and I know I do too, but not as often as you guys, what are some of the things families have been calling about that may have gotten even more challenging this time of the year related to school?
What we usually see this time of year is, well, my opinion, just a whole lot of burnout. So kids, youth, they're getting suspended for behavior-related disabilities. And it seems like everyone's tired, but and families are, and kids are getting suspended before the holidays. So it puts stress on the families because they have to think about what's going to happen when school comes back, when school starts back after the holidays. And this is kind of like, it's kind of stressful thinking about, oh, my child is suspended, and now I have to spend the holidays worrying about what's going to happen when my child returns to school.
So it's kind of like it's beginning to look like a lot like Christmas, but not in a good way, in a way that makes my stomach kind of hurt because I just don't know what's going on. Okay. All right, Jackie, Karina, anything you've seen with calls?
I agree with what Henry was saying. We're getting a lot of those calls, especially this time of the year.
Okay.
I also agree. A lot of families where the children's being expelled or suspended and they don't know what to do. They're very worried or scared or frustrated.
Okay. Well, we're going to look for just a second at a blog that we actually reposted. We did it this time last year and then reposted it again this year because we know these same things are happening. And about halfway through that, we had some suggestions for parents. We can scroll down a little bit. There we go. And these are some things to keep in mind if you're in this situation. First of all, if the school calls you and says, we want you to come pick up your child because of their behavior, ask if they've been suspended. And we encourage you not to pick up your child unless they've been officially suspended because especially if the child has an IEP. Children with IEPs can only be suspended up to 10 days a year until the school needs to have a meeting with you, with the child, with everyone working with the child to see if that what's going on might be related to their disability. So if you're picking them up and they're not suspended, it could be that those days won't be counted. Now, some new guidance has come out that's made it really clear that those days actually do count, but it's a little harder to document that. And then remember on the next one, this is just reinforcing that a child with an IEP can only be suspended for a total of 10 days per school year before the IEP team meets to see is this thing that's going on, this behavior related to the child's disability? And if it is, the district needs to be looking at evaluating that behavior. And that's one place, and we'll get to Champ for Schools in just a minute, where Champ for Schools can probably help school districts that are looking at how do we do a really good behavioral analysis. And then could you switch back to that blog real quick, Todd? And the other things, if your child's suspended and you don't understand why, remember you can always ask for an IEP meeting to better understand. And this is really important too, that fourth point, to become familiar with your school district's code of conduct. Sometimes people don't know. That's like, and we were talking about this before we came on, the code of conduct and the procedural safeguards, they may seem dry and boring, and we will always be here to support you in looking at them and understanding them. And so will our friends at Mississippi Parent Training Information Center. But they're your best friends. And remember, your child, even if they have an IEP, the code of conduct still applies to them. So sometimes people think it doesn't. And children with IEPs can still get suspended. And then, again, just remembering that if your child has an IEP, they've been suspended for 10 days or more, there has to be that meeting. So those are just some things we wanted to go over with you, and that's in our newsletter and on our website if you want to check that out some more. So why don't we switch to Gigi and Brooke, and why don't you just help us understand, let's just say a school district did call you. And could they call you if they were, had a child who there'd been this meeting to see if this behavior was related to their child's disability, and everyone agreed it looks like it is. Could Champ, but they were like, what do we do now? And maybe we haven't been faced with this before. Is that a time where a school district could call Champ for Schools, and what would be some things that might happen to support them?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Champ for Schools has both a licensed child psychiatrist and psychologist on board to help navigate these incredibly complex situations that schools might be going through. Gigi might have some more information on what those interventions might look like.
Yeah. So like you said, Joy, I mean, it definitely does take more than just one individual at the table to be able to discuss and come together about what the concerns are for a child. And how those concerns are affecting the learning that's happening in school, that should be happening in schools. So yes, definitely like what Brooke was saying, the school district, the school counselor, even the teacher can give a call to Champ and really just get that guidance on what, if it might be like a treatment plan, it might be some in classroom, behavioral techniques that we can discuss, because every child is different. It's not a cookie cutter, formula or anything like that. So we really got to get an idea of what's going on, get some type of a picture of what all is happening to be able to offer up some of those ideas and techniques and interventions that can happen both in the classroom, but then also, again, whoever else is involved, maybe some of those interventions can be happening at home too, as well.
Right. Well, that's really helpful. So tell us how it works. And I know this is a new program, so there may be some of this that you're like, well, we don't know that particular detail yet. So, but just whatever you can tell us, let's just say a superintendent is out there listening, or a school teacher. Like, can anybody just call, and what number do they call? And do they have to do some paperwork to be able to call, or how do they do it? And does it cost anything?
Yeah. So Champ for Schools, it is a free program. We are funded by the Department of Mental Health, but we are free to whoever needs to use it, whether it be a superintendent, a teacher, anybody involved in the schools can use this. And that number is staffed from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And it is licensed mental health professionals and medical personnel that staff that line. And our number is 601-984-2080. No specific paperwork required to call this line. But if anybody's watching and wants to get enrolled, feel free to contact this number and we can set up a formal process and send more information.
Yeah, I think the main thing too also is that, just like what Brooke was saying, this is funded through the Department of Mental Health. CHAMP in general is a free grant funded project, both with our main CHAMP line or CHAMP program, which that's mainly for medical providers, but we're doing the same thing of offering consultations to them so that medical services can be kept in the medical home, and the same with teachers as well, so that, we want to be able to keep kids in schools and all that. So if we're able to have those consultations and address these things right then and there, same day, then we're able to do that. Also, we're able to offer, if a school district gives us a call, trainings as well. We've been in talks with schools regarding training for ACEs, acute childhood adverse experiences, and then also like other trauma-informed trainings as well.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that's great.
Yeah, and I do want to add that our goal, I think, as a whole for CHAMP is to improve pediatric access to mental health and psychiatry. And with a big part of the state of Mississippi being rural, the access to mental health care and healthcare in general is very low. And so sometimes teachers and school administrators are the front line for seeing these children's mental health issues. So our goal, being able to provide this service, is to really meet the teachers and the children where they're at in their day-to-day lives.
That's terrific. That's terrific. So you all, now CHAMP started, and this is still going on, and is one of the primary purposes of CHAMP, and this is funded at the federal level, is my understanding, was so any medical care provider in Mississippi who sees children can call you. And there's our friend, Dr. Brooks, and get help in real time with any child that's in their office, just with any kind of situation. And then, and I do think this is one of the coolest things the Department of Mental Health has ever done. They came along and gave you funding to do the same type of work with school districts and schools. So that's very exciting. Now this is one thing that comes up that kind of brings together all three of those groups that I want to run by y'all. And if anybody from Families as Allies wants to jump in here, this is another call we get. And y'all tell me if I'm describing this correctly. That a family will be told by a school district, we think your child might be dangerous to themselves or to someone else. So then they'll tell the family, you need to go somewhere and get them evaluated, and you can't bring them back to school until you do that. So am I describing that call correctly? Yeah. Now, one thing that a lot of times everyone in this loop doesn't realize, and has been made really, really clear by some federal guidance that came out this summer, is in that situation, if a school, the law already makes this clear, if a school district suspects a child might have a disability, they're obligated to get with the parent and say, hey, we think something might be going on. We want to help your child. We want to do an assessment. Is that okay with you? That's what is supposed to happen. That doesn't always happen. And I think there hasn't been a lot of thought given to, in this risk assessment situation, the district is basically saying, we know something might be wrong here. So they're showing that they have knowledge that there might be a disability. So that's one thing we want to tell parents, is right at that point, the district has let you know that they should be involved and should be helping you and should be working with you on that risk assessment. You shouldn't be being sent somewhere and being told your child can't come back. We'll help you with that part. Right. But I think what Families as Allies will, and any family can call us about that. And it's 601-355-0915. I think part of the reason that happens, and this doesn't make it okay, but it makes it understandable, is a district just doesn't know what to do. So, and they're thinking, what in the world do we do? And we don't have expertise here. So, can y'all help us understand, is that something CHAMP could help with? And let's say a district's in that situation. What are some thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we've definitely been in talks with some of the districts as well, is that, again, a big foundational piece of it is training, for teachers, for school-based clinicians, because a lot of times they don't have that, that weren't given that went through that training, in order to properly address these situations at that time. And when they do happen, it's just, you kind of get all confused. It's just like, what to do. So that is one of the main things that we are discussing and preparing for, is to be able to initiate and provide more trainings, to address these situations whenever they do happen, so that a more formal assessment process can be put in place so that interventions can also follow as well.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And I've noticed this, like on the main part of CHAMP, working with medical providers. I know one way that we've been able to partner with y'all is a medical provider, a primary care provider will end up with this child in their office, and the family saying, I can't take them back to school because they may not necessarily understand what their rights are. And the primary care provider wants to help, but isn't sure what to do. And the district may be misguided in not understanding it has a responsibility. So everything that's happening with CHAMP really is bringing things together in a way where everyone could be supported. But we also want to make it clear to primary care providers that shouldn't be happening to families, that there are obligations of the school district and rights of the family and protections there for the child, but that CHAMP is a place that can help bring all that together in a way where the child gets the help they need and the school district gets the support they need to help that child. And it's not just dumped on some primary care provider out there who really wants to help and has no idea what to do to address all that. Am I in the ballpark on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think one of the main things to keep in mind is that at the end of the day, it's about reducing or lessening the need for inappropriate referrals to wherever, whether it be to the PCP, if it's to the ER department, because not every situation is called for that. And then just like what you were saying, Joy, that a lot of times in these situations, the medical provider is looked at or kind of utilized as the liaison. And like you said, they'll be like, well, I don't really know what to do in this situation. And that's when, again, that they can wrap back around to CHAMP and we can address that problem with them in that situation. And of course, get them connected with you all, in which what we have done in the past. And it's been a really great asset.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of good things have come together. Okay, I've been talking a lot, which everybody will be like, I'm not surprised because Joy tends to do that. But y'all at Families as Allies, are there any other kinds of education calls we've been getting that we want to touch base on, or did we cover it? Especially with our friends from CHAMP on here.
I would say one thing, we've emphasized with families, with the calls, is that, and this is kind of like, I guess it's a work in progress. If they could see a partnership, if the parents could see a partnership with, being on the IEP team, the school, us, CHAMP for schools, if they could see that partnership versus being on a firing squad, like your child is doing this and you're not doing this. But if one thing I know I have emphasized is that it's really a partnership. Okay, if you could see like a system of care, if you could see that family, then you could see this system of care. It's this partnership. So yeah, that's all I have right now.
Absolutely. Because we know, we're all parents at Families as Allies, that all of us who are working directly with families. And we know as parents or whoever we are raising a child, I realize it may be a grandparent or someone else, but those of us raising kids, we know our kids better than anyone. And the one thing we always bring to the table along with our child, if they want to be at that table, is we know our kids better than anyone, and we are always going to be there for them. And that's such a tremendous asset to bring to the table, and something the district and schools really need to understand. We know what's going to work for our child. So it's so important we be at that table and that be recognized. And we definitely want to support every family being valued as a partner in that way. Does that go with what you were saying, Henry?
Yes.
All righty. Well, we try to keep these to 20 to 30 minutes, and I can see we've been on here a little over 20, but how about Brooke and Gigi? Was there anything about CHAMP for schools or CHAMP in general y'all wanted to be able to share that we didn't tap into yet?
I just to reiterate again that even though it is primarily for, again, school-based clinicians, teachers, school districts, that CHAMP in general has a no wrong door approach. Anyone can give us a call and we will offer that assistance. If it's, giving resources, whether it be in the community, across the state, because this is a statewide program, both with CHAMP, main CHAMP, and then CHAMP for schools. And so truly, so for anyone listening on here, I definitely encourage you, give the number a call, visit the website. Also word of mouth is another thing too. Like if you hear about us and figure that this information might be, great for others to hear about, please feel free to share that. But we keep that approach open because we're here to, assist those throughout the state for sure.
That's terrific. And could I ask one question about that? I know y'all are so open. Your calls are primarily for people who are working with children and families, right? So like the medical provider, the school district, the school, the teacher, as opposed to families themselves calling. Is that right?
Right. Absolutely. And we do go, it's up to age 21. But again, we have had those situations before where I've had someone call about a 24-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't turn that away.
Okay, so people working with families and they're trying to find the right kind of support, great idea to call CHAMP. And then families themselves who might be struggling with some of these issues or just have questions, you can call Families as Allies. And if you call one and maybe it'd be easier to talk or more helpful to talk to the other, we'll get you connected that way. Can anybody else, and I'll go over I know we want to talk about our community partnership celebration in just a minute, but can y'all think anything else we said we were going to talk about that we haven't mentioned yet? We good? Okay. Well, we want to remind everyone, every year we had this great celebration, and it's also our main fundraiser to be come together at Families as Allies with everyone we work with and everyone who's a part of us. So we hope anyone watching will join us. We have, and it's going to be in person. It will be January 23rd, which is a Monday evening at Bravo. Yes, there it is. And you can go to our website and get tickets. And we also honor 4 individuals or groups who are most exemplified our 4 core values. So we'll be announcing those award winners sometime over the next few weeks. And we're also always happy to have groups and individuals and organizations sponsor the event, and then tickets are $50 and you can get those online. We do not want any family to be prevented from coming who wants to come by financial issues. You can call us, and we do typically have tickets donated back by different sponsors that we can make sure every family who wants to be there can be. And then we also want to remind everyone, and this goes along with this, that we have in June, we got the Family to Family Health Information Center grant, and that allows us to do all of this work that we've been doing in the world of mental health with any child with a disability. And one thing we're very committed to is, and we can talk more about this in detail at another time, but every child having a medical home where they have a primary care provider where they can get the help they need and someone they trust and their family trust, and that they can get the support around them, whether it be mental health support, school support, and partnering with places like CHAMP or partnering with us to make sure that that child gets what they need, and not just that their health problems are addressed, but that their whole health is supported. So we're very excited about that. So we just want you to know that any family with a child with a disability who has questions about that is welcome to call us. We also encourage everyone, and we're going to hop off in just a minute, to subscribe to our newsletter. And you can do that at that link. And can anybody else think anything that we haven't said yet? All right. And you can always donate to us. We appreciate that. And we appreciate those of you who gave yesterday on Giving Tuesday. And you can give. We will take those donations any day of the week. We are so grateful for everyone who gives to us and everyone who partners with us. And we are so thankful, Gigi and Brooke, that you joined us today. And thank you for all the great work you're doing.
Absolutely. And thank you for all you're doing.
Yes, likewise. We enjoy working with you all. Thank you for the invitation
Thank
today.
you.
Absolutely. We need to have guest stars more often. This is fun. Okay. And thanks to everyone who works at Families as Allies. You guys are the absolute best. And thanks for everyone who is watching this either live or watches it later on the recording. We appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you, Todd, behind the scenes.